Since launching the Great Passenger Pigeon comeback in 2012, there is one question that matters the most. Why bring them back? The short answer is to help forest conservation. Prior to their demise in the late 1800s, flocks of billions of passenger pigeons played the most significant role in shaping forest dynamics in eastern North America. Eastern North America's forests evolved over time to be what foresters call a disturbance regime, dependent on disturbances like storms and fires to trigger regeneration. Many plants, including oak trees and the American chestnut tree, require disturbances in early successional stages to complete their life cycles. The majority of native animal species of eastern North America use regenerating forest habitats to feed and raise young. Some species, like the eastern cottontail, are entirely dependent on early successional habitats, while others, like some bats, rely on closed canopy habitat to roost and nearby successional habitats to feed. A number of early successional bird species have been the focus of conservation concern for ornithologists as the eastern forests have become more homogeneously closed canopy. Many of these species are currently declining, threatened, or endangered in the absence of regular disturbances and subsequent regenerating habitats. For decades, foresters thought that fire suppression in the early to mid-1900s was the cause of the loss of consistent forest disturbances. But it was the immense flocks of passenger pigeons that once perpetuated regular disturbances at large scales. Their extinction has led to ecosystem degradation over a century later. So just how did the passenger pigeon induce forest regeneration cycles? The pigeons would come to roost or nest in an area of closed canopy forest with abundant acorn, beechnut, or other seed crops to forage. Their sheer numbers would overcrowd trees, breaking large branches and even small trees down to the ground, opening up the canopy like a severe storm. Over the course of several days to weeks, they would consume every food resource and deposit their droppings inches deep across the forest floor, smothering and clearing out the undergrowth much like a fire. But unlike storms and fires, this nutrient-rich deposit acted as a fertilizer, and when the pigeons left, the regeneration cycle would begin. Across eastern North America, the forest cycle was ignited by the pigeons. Every few weeks, they would have to move somewhere new to find food. Their movements were nomadic by necessity, and creating a patchwork mosaic of successional habitats, capable of supporting more life than a homogeneous landscape. When the pigeons were at a roosting site, their droppings and they themselves were a bountiful resource for a rich food chain, creating hot spots of activity. And when they left, the successional cycle hosted new food webs with increased complexity. Today, foresters labor with selective cutting, controlled burns, and other treatments to stimulate forest regeneration, creating local wins for conservation, but human labor can't possibly scale up to the needs of the entire biome. By restoring abundant and densely social flocks of passenger pigeons, we can restore a consistent and significant disturbance factor to perpetuate cycles of regeneration, making forests more productive and diverse. There was no ecological science in the 1800s, leaving us only with historic anecdotes to surmise the potential benefits of passenger pigeons to forest regeneration. In 2025, to better understand the species' effects on forests, we are launching the first ecological research with partners in Wisconsin to simulate a passenger pigeon nesting event. A team of volunteers will come into a patch of forest to break branches and remove every seed and berry that could have been eaten by the pigeons. Then we will move in truckloads of pigeon guano to spread across the forest floor. In the ensuing years, professors, students, and volunteers will measure changes in revegetation in animal communities. We'll also measure changes in soil microbes, biochemistry, tree growth, and carbon cycling. Not only will the work provide vital foundational science to planning an effective restoration strategy for de-extinct passenger pigeons, it will simultaneously benefit current forestry management practices, so humans can be better stewards of our forests while we wait for new passenger pigeons to resume their ecosystem engineering role.